Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy.
A man stands at my door every night, and I think he's going to kill me. I'm writing this with my phone on 14% and my brightness all the way down. He hasn't come yet, but I know he will. Fuck, it's driving me crazy. My name is Dane West. I'm 19 years old and I live in Tampa, Florida. I know I'm not supposed to give out my personal information on the internet, but I don't give a shit. I'm freaking out, man. This hell started 3 weeks ago. I had just moved out of my last apartment that I shared with my best friend before he died in a car crash. I had been on the phone with him when it happened, and the memories tormented me in my last apartment. I saw my friend everywhere. I needed to escape. I thought moving would end my nightmare, but I was so wrong. My new apartment is a gem on the outskirts of Tampa, plenty of space for one person, and a small community area to connect with your neighbors. I nearly cried tears of joy the night I moved in 4 weeks ago, but shit got weird fast. It started with the dreams. I'd had them since Scott's death, but assumed they'd go away with a scenery change in time. For some reason though, after moving they got worse. The images would get more and more vivid, until they were joined by morning headaches. Coffee barely eased the suffering, but I got through. That is, until the second week. That was the week I really freaked out, because instead of seeing Scott in my dreams, I saw him in my apartment. I was finally laying down after a long day of college classes and 3 hours of work, when I heard a creak on the floorboards. Not unusual for an apartment, but it sounded close enough to put me on edge. I sat up and stared into the dark when I saw it. An eye, white, beady, small, and barely poking around the corner. I didn't know what to do. My palms got sweaty and my heart rate increased. But after 23 minutes with the dot not moving, I convinced myself I was being paranoid and forced myself to sleep. The eye kept coming back though. Slowly I could see more and more of it. It got joined by a head, and then a neck, until an entire body darkened my doorway. It was fully black apart from the eyes, which shone in the dark. The silhouette was of my best friend, but I knew it was him. I wasn't sure what to do. I looked up hallucinations on the internet and found that grief, stress, and exhaustion can cause them. Check, and check, so I didn't worry about it. I mean, damn, it freaked me the hell out, but I'm not a wuss, and I didn't believe in ghosts. 4 days ago, though, everything changed. When I woke up in the morning, he wasn't gone, or at least not completely. I saw him leave my room out of the corner of my eye, and a piece of paper on my bed caught my eye. Picking it up, I squinted through the tiredness and read one word: soon. Chills shivered through my entire body, and I felt my heart start to pound. Was that a threat? Am I hallucinating during the day now? I ignored the note, determined to stay sane. That night, I went to bed determined, and when I woke up, nothing. I thought it was over. Last night, though, I had another dream, but this one was different. I was the man. I watched myself fall asleep from my doorway, then crept to my bed, rattling breaths getting shoved out of my body with every step. I felt the bed sag beneath me as I leaned over my own sleeping body. Rattling breath, in and out. The exhale sent chills down my spine, and I woke up, but didn't move 1 inch, as I felt the breath shiver on the back of my neck. It was real. I was so convinced in that moment, I felt the terror of the fact that these nights had been a reality. I couldn't force my eyes open until late in the morning, long after I couldn't feel the breath on my neck anymore. My day was spent shaking and quiet. I feel crazy. Felt. Am. I took a shower, shake it off. The steam was practically choking me. I step out, and on the mirror, one word: tonight. I feel numb. I don't know what he wants from me. I know he isn't Scott, right? Who the hell would do that, huh? Is it you, Scott? I'm mumbling under my breath. I can barely tell when I'm speaking or thinking. Am I even typing right now? Heavy, deep breaths. In, out, in. He's here. His beady eyes glare from the doorway. I'm ready. Whatever this is, I want it over. I close my eyes. Whenever you're ready.
Retired trucker here. I've lived in Canada for most of my adult life. Moved here from the US. It's all I ever wanted to do because of the travel and solitude. Just me, my radio playing music, and the road. Most would find it lonely, but I'd always wanted to be on the road, be it my semi-Mac truck or my motorcycle. One night, I was traveling from Toronto and making my way to Manitoba, and from there to Regina and back. Done it many, many times. The long hauls were just the best for me. The way the road winds, up and down hills with so many trees surrounding the area. It must have been around 3 a.m. and I just pulled out from a rest stop to gas up and junk food supplies. You can't beat the night rides, I tell you. As I was riding, hardly any other cars around this time, and I just passed the Hudson Bay. In the distance, I could see a pair of red lights followed by a few more, but what was strange about this scene was that there were 3 other cars awkwardly parked in the middle of the road, steadily coming to a stop to see people standing in the middle of the road trying to wave me down, as if I had anywhere else to go. Coming to a stop, and seeing these people pointing down the road, here I was, thinking maybe they were trying to rob me, but these looked like families, so I didn't hesitate to jump out of my truck, carrying a baseball bat with me just in case. I approached the small crowd. "What's the problem out here?" A woman softly whimpering, holding a handheld camcorder pointing down away from us. A few teens standing by their parents' cars, and a few men approached. "Hey brother, you don't want to go down there." I winced and looked, but didn't see a thing, even as their headlights shined down the concrete. "Why? What's going on?" And they both turned around at that point. "Look her there. It's been standing there for nearly an hour now, and neither of us want to go near it." I walked past the small crowd, carrying my bat with one hand, and that's when I could actually see what these good folk were afraid of. A tall, skinny-looking man. Must have been at least a good 9 to 10 feet tall. Small head with hunched shoulders and skinny legs that only got thinner as they went down to the feet. Stopping in my tracks as this thing hunched down as I got too close for my own safety, squinting my eyes as good as I can to see this thing had sort of darkish gray skin and almost no face. There was a sudden fear that struck me in my very soul as it made some weird hissing sound as this thing crouched down as if it was ready to attack. I froze in my steps, and my will to run away left my body. Sudden cold sweats on my skin and heartbeat racing. I felt my foot back up slightly and just went with it while not breaking eye contact with this thing. Eyes were a dark oval glowing red and just got brighter as the seconds passed. The hissing sounded like a tea kettle as it kind of jumped on its skinny feet. I make it back to the small crowd and tell everyone to get in their cars and make way for my truck as I was planning to hit this thing dead off the road. They did, so as I got into my truck, not taking my eyes off the bloody thing. Putting my truck into gear as the cars made enough space to get through, I slightly moved forward, honking my horn vigorously as I seemed toward the creature. It stood off to the side of the road and I could see it staring at me, getting the sense that I pissed it off. And that's when this thing, pulled out an impressive 12-foot wingspan as I passed by turning its body towards me. Seeing in my rearview mirror and the creature shuffles into the woods at a speed that was damn near impossible, the other cars followed behind me for a good few miles, and I came to a stop on the side of a dirt crevice. I opened my window as another car comes stopping beside. "Thanks, brother. I don't think I'd have the balls to do what you did. Don't know if that thing would have chased us or not." "No problem, brother. You get on now and I'll be right behind you," I replied. We both waved, and I did what I said I'd do. About a mile after we stopped, I felt paranoia grip my heart and something, I don't know why, but I felt compelled to look at my right and just at the state of the road. there it was once more. The damn thing flew way ahead of me and the other cars, and that was the last time I've seen anything like it ever again. Years later, I read reports online that there were many sightings of this Mothman with exact descriptions, and it sent a chill down my spine. Is that what I saw? A damn Mothman? I can't be sure, and it's still skeptical about it. I don't get much time on the road anymore due to old age, but when I feel like it, I take my bike down Highway 1, almost in the hopes of seeing this thing again, but it never happens. Not sure what I'd do if I were to ever come across it again. Only time will tell. My dad died when I was 18 and he left me the house, a farm, and a decent sum of money which I used to hire some help around the grounds. Being so young and inexperienced in some things, the help wasn't too much of a bad idea. My life was pretty much set, and my dad's death was just unexpected. No disrespect, but I had my own plans for life. College, and maybe move to the big city, but this farmland has been in my family for so long, and I couldn't just give it up even when there were offers to sell. Going in 5 months of living alone in this wide house with no other family in the name, it was pretty lonely besides the few horses, chickens, and a few goats to keep me company. One early evening, as I was getting ready to call it a day, I heard a commotion going on at the barn and my name being hollered. I came rushing around the corner, and as the helpers clear away, I looked into the pen where the goats were, and found out the female goat I named Bessie had given birth. But upon closer inspection, I noticed that this baby goat wasn't ordinary. The sight of this newborn was enough to scare the helpers, and I will admit also that the sight of whatever this was enough to send shivers down my spine. This baby goat nearly had hands like a human and legs of a normal goat. The face was pretty much normal, but just under the neck, there was a mouth of a person it looked like the lips of a human and one human-looking eye and an ear just under the right eye of the goat. It laid on its side, making the most horrific human sound coming from the lower mouth, a kind of sound mixed with the cries of a goat. I immediately went to my house and pulled one of the many rifles as I dismissed the helpers, telling them I'd take care of it. They left soon after as I sat beside the pen, making sure everyone had left. As the last car pulled out, I loaded the rifle and listened to this goat crying out in pain, and aimed the barrel to its head and pulled the trigger. I didn't want to think about if word got out into town, thinking that they would say that maybe someone mated with it, some weird human hybrid or something, so I did what I had to do. I took the carcass of the deformed baby goat and wrapped it in an old blanket I had laying around and dragged it to the tree line behind the house to bury it. The whole rest of the night I sat in front of the TV eating dinner but had no appetite, which was annoying, so I just relaxed, drinking one of the many beers my dad hadn't finished. Always stocked them up so it was convenient. Midnight came around, and I had fallen asleep on Dad's old chair like he always would, hat over my eyes and everything just like how he would look. I suddenly woke up with a shudder to the sound of the goat's human-like cries coming from outside. I quickly sat up and looked out the window to the tree line, and the echoes of the cries I could hear in the dark. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I looked into the dark, listening to the cries, and wondered how this was possible. Grabbing my rifle and a handful of ammo, I take my flashlight and strap it on the barrel and made my way to the back of the house and towards the tree line, wondering how this thing was still alive after a direct shot to the head. As I neared the burial of the goat, its cries had begun to fade, and when I approached where I had buried it, the shock of finding the shallow hole I dug was empty along with the blanket it was wrapped in. Starting to think I was in some kind of horror movie, I rubbed my eyes and I could feel the sweat running down my face while flashing the light all around. Walking slowly deeper into the trees, it cried out. It was close, but was nowhere to be seen. The fear in my hands shook the rifle, hearing steps all around me as I retreated back out from the trees as quick as I could and came to a stop at the line. I held the light up into the trees, and about 20 feet away I could see the goat walking on its hind legs, making a struggling breathing sound. I shot at the damned thing, but assuming I missed, since I heard the bullet hitting a tree, I shined the light once more and suddenly it was gone. I could still hear the cries going off, north, in a distance. I stood waiting for the sounds to be completely gone, and that's when I went back into the house and locked my door, because this really was something from a scary movie. This happened about 20 years ago, and I've heard stories of a goat man walking around the state of Tennessee, and it just makes me wonder if this is the goat I didn't manage to kill and keep buried. Most nights I sit on my porch with my rifle and a beer. 2 marriages and 3 kids later, I still tell the story, and no one believes me. It really makes one hell of a good scary story, but it's up to the listener to believe it or not. Thanks for taking the time to listen to one of my videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.